Okay, now let us start with the characteristic strength of material. So the term characteristic strength means that the value of a strength of a material below which more than minimum acceptable percentage of test results are expected to fall. Now I'll tell in the simple words. Now you have 10 or 15 cubes, let us think, okay, or 10 or 15 models which has to be tested. Fine. So out of that, only 5% is accepted as a failure. That means, in other words, 95% of them have to gain the strength, required strength. That strength is called as characteristic strength. Okay. I'll repeat again. 95% of the strength should be more than expected, or at least the required strength. Only 5% can fail. Okay, acceptable failure or minimum strength obtained should be only 5%. That strength, that 95% strength, which is obtained, that is called as characteristic strength of material. Now, if I cast 50 cubes, let us think. I will cast a cube for M20 grade. Okay, I'll cast a cube for M20 grade. I'll cast 50 cubes. Okay, and I'll go for compression test for all the 50 cubes. If what is a 5% of 50? Guys, I want somebody to calculate and let me know what is 5% of 50.
2.5.
2.5. Okay, 2.5. Now if 2.5 cubes fails, okay, and the remaining 47.5 cubes should pass in the test, then that is considered as a compression strength. Okay, now let us take, if 10 cubes fails to gain that M20 grade, 20 kilonewton per millimeter square, okay, then it is that strength, whatever considered, or the mix whatever considered, is treated as a failure. If you want to gain the strength, there should be some proportion correct, some raw materials mixed correct. That should be the material. Should be 95%. 95% of that should gain the required strength. Then it is called as characteristic strength. If in case if 10 cubes fails, then it is not a characteristic strength. Fine. So this is how we consider this. Now they say in IS 456-2000 we have accepted minimum acceptable percent of failure as 5%. Fine. Now this means that there is 5% of probability or chance of the actual strength being less than the characteristic strength. Fine. In this, FCK stands for characteristic strength of material. Okay. Sometimes they mention mean strength as FM. Sometimes they mention mean strength as FCM. Okay, and sigma standard deviation. Now look at this graph. If you look at this graph, so we have one value of 1.65 sigma. So if you look at this graph, this 5% what is taken as these results is below 5%. The remaining is considered as the strength what is obtained above the target level, or at least it will not fail. This diagram, what it is shown is a frequency distribution of curve, a curve for strength. Okay, what this is, what do you mean by frequency distribution? Can anyone tell me in brief or in general how they tell the frequency? How do you define frequency? We say, I don't want the formula, I want the content of that. What do you understand from the word frequency? Now you tell our frequency will not match. Isn't it? When we compare ourselves with some people, we say, I'm not comfortable with that, her or he, because our frequency will not match. What does that means? That means the thinking level will not match, correct? Same way, the strength, what it is gained, okay? That intensity of the strength is nothing but the frequency in terms here. It's just a simple way of understanding. Okay, we have other technical meanings involved in this. Okay, existed in this, but in simple way to understand and to remember this, you understand it like this: the strength which is equally the intensity of the strength gained. Now, if you start from here, see here it is up to FCK. This is a strength. From here to here, it is 95%. Or from here to here, it is 95%. The remaining 5% is failure. That means the strength here is less. See, the curve is going, it's increasing. The intensity of the strength is increasing, right? And this is a peak level, right? And again, it will decrease. But it will not come this, whatever this portion, it can be this portion or this portion together, maybe together or maybe individual. Together, it should be 5% only. Fine. Now, this strength is called as characteristic strength. Okay. Now, characteristic strength of material. That is how, see, this is how we calculate the characteristic strength of, explain the characteristic strength of material. When we go to material, we have different material. So different values will come across. Fine. So now, characteristic strength of material. Figure shows the frequency distribution curve, the same thing what I've explained. Okay. Strength material, concrete or steel. It may be concrete or it may be steel. The value of K corresponds to 5% area of the curve, which is 1.65. Okay. The design strength should be lower than the mean strength. Now, this is a mean strength, correct? This portion is mean strength. Now, the design strength, let us take in the other way, in the other way, simple way of understanding is, this is the highest value. Okay, the strength, the design strength is a highest value. I'll tell you what is design strength. Highest value is a design strength. So whatever the strength we apply or whatever the strength of the material will be within this curve. It will be somewhere here only. It will not cross. If it cross, what happens? It will decrease again. Okay, the strength should keep on increasing, and it will at least reach up to the mean value, mean strength. Okay. They use the constant K to give the failure value. Okay, or you can take it as mean value 1.65 for this particular material, either concrete or it may be steel. Okay, the design strength should be lower than the mean strength, FM. Characteristic strength is nothing but mean strength minus K into standard deviation. Okay, so mean strength is given and K value will also be given. Standard deviation is obtained from the code. We will discuss that. We will see how to calculate also, and the values are also given in the code. So this is a formula used to calculate the characteristic strength, where Fk, characteristic strength of material, Fm stands for mean strength and K stands for the constant. And why they have mentioned Fk? If it is, for example, if it is concrete, then it is called the same Fk will be denoted as Fck. If it is concrete, the same Fk will be denoted as Fck. If it is steel, the same notation will be taken as Fy or Fe. Fe 415 is the characteristic strength of steel. Fine, like that. And SD stands for standard deviation for a set of tests. Okay. Now, the value of standard deviation SD is given with the help of this formula, wherein delta deviation of the individual test. Deviation of the individual test strength from the average, mean strength or n samples. Now, why we do take the standard deviation and why we do take number of samples is what we have to know. Now, in the previous session, we have discussed at least 3 numbers of samples should be conducted, should be casted, and test will be conducted on 3 numbers. Why? Because if you take up one sample and give the value, you can't get 100% correct. There will be many influences to get the wrong answer. So what we can do, we take minimum of 3 numbers and we take the average of those values. Okay, but that number n, number of tests conducted, minimum of 3 samples for one test. If I am conducting one test, it will be 3 numbers. Similarly, if I am conducting number of tests, into number of tests will be considered. Okay, so total number of cubes or total number of cylinders or total number of beams will be casted. Okay, so IS 456-2000 has recommended minimum value of n as 30. And you might get confused where this is used, all this derivation. Okay, I'm actually not explaining everything in depth. If I explain everything in depth, no, you'll get confused and you'll end up understanding nothing. Okay, so I'm just giving a brief details about the variables or characteristics what we have learning, and when we learn completely, then we will understand where it is applied. I'll give you an example. When I was learning, we have a theory, one subject called theory of elasticity. Theory of elasticity is a beautiful subject, but it's very much confusing. Why confusing? Because throughout the syllabus, you only see the derivations. When I was learning that subject, after my 3 internals, I gave my best to learn that subject. But I didn't understand how to read that subject. You know, when I understood that subject, only when I applied that. When we did our thesis work, I had to analyze the structure. So then I had to apply all those formulas or derivations what we did. It's full of matrix and stuff. What you learn in matrix method, many things are there involved. If you're interested in that, you can take it. It is an elective for you people, you can take it. Okay, so unless you apply what you learn, you will not understand. There are few things which will be very difficult to understand if we don't know the application part of it. Okay, that is why I will not go in depth of all this. If I go in depth, it will really be confusing for you to understand. Okay, now for instance, we need characteristic strength. What is that? Okay, how we consider, because there is a little bit of input from this, we will have to take it for analysis. Okay, from analysis it goes to design. So like that we will take, then we'll come back and we will see in depth. Fine. Okay, so characteristic strength of concrete. Characteristic strength of concrete is denoted by FCK, Newton per millimeter square, and its value is different for different grade of concrete. As we explained in previous sessions, if you take M20, M30, M25, anything, any different grade, each different grade will be the characteristic strength will be different. Okay, in this M15 or M3, yeah, M stands for concrete mix, and 15 or the digits, the number refer to the specific characteristics compressive strength. That is very important. It is a compressive strength, okay, of 150 mm size cube at 28 days. Okay, at 28 days expressed in terms of Newton per millimeter square. That means there is a standard cube, 150 mm. Okay, cube means in all the 3 directions it is 150 mm. You cast a concrete of the design, desired mixed design. For example, if you want 20, M20 or M30, M25, whichever grade, fine, you cure it for 28 days, then test it. Okay, that value, whatever you get, it is a compressive strength, okay, obtained. That is a characteristics compressive strength. That too, if Only failure is less than or equal to 5%. Fine. Characteristic strength of steel. Now, okay, let me read this. Until the relevant Indian standard specification for reinforced steel are modified to include the concept of characteristic strength, the characteristics value shall be assumed as the minimum yield stress or 0.2% of proof stress specified in the relevant Indian standard specification. Now, I hope you remember this 0.2% of proof stress. From the beginning, from the stress strain curve, we are using this value, right? This value because for every steel, we don't have an exact characteristic strength. So what we do, we take a 0.2% of a proof stress as a characteristic strength of steel. But in concrete, it is not that. You have to every time design the concrete, test the concrete and arrive at the value. In steel, it is not like that. Right? In steel, you can take 0.2% of a proof stress as a yielding strength or minimum yielding stress. Okay? Now, that is about the material. Now, same 95% is applied for load also. Okay, characteristics load. So characteristics load is nothing but probability of 95% of a load not exceeding the maximum load applied throughout the life of a structure. Now, for example, if a structure, let us take a commercial building is designed to take up some 50 kilonewton per meter square of a load. Okay, and that building is assumed it is designed for 50 years. Throughout 50 years, there should not be load more than the design load. What was that load given? 100 or 50 kilonewton per meter square on the floor. Okay, throughout the 50 years, if 95% of the load is not exceeding, then that load is called as a characteristic load. Then now you might have that doubt. So after 50 years, should we test? Okay, we assume it as, it is not like testing after 50 years, it is back engineering. We assume that now only and we will design the structure. Okay, we assume that now, considering the safety factor. How you assume? You assume safety factors and you assume partial safety factors. You consider many other elements. Okay, when you consider all those things, as a result, you will make sure that 95% of the load will not exceed the design load. Okay, the same thing is explained in this graph also. Here also it is a mean characteristics load. Okay, Fu is taken as a characteristic load, and standard deviation, and Fm, this is Fm, mean load. This is mean load and this is characteristics load. Fine. Okay, can you tell me why standard deviation is considered? What is the use of this standard deviation over here? Okay, guys, whenever I ask a question in the class, if you don't answer, I have no issues. But next time when you don't answer, you will get I will definitely reduce the marks. Okay, every interaction will carry some marks. In last class, I'd asked you people to go through the graph, stress strain curve of steel, and there is no response. And today also there is no response, no issues. But don't come back to me with the marks, asking for marks. Okay? I want you people to go through wherever you want, you learn. Let me know what is standard deviation in the next class. Next class, I will only inform you people. Okay? It may be a Monday or Tuesday evening time. I've discussed you people, right? If you have any issues, please let me know. Okay, so otherwise Wednesday afternoon, last second period, I will be taking a regular class. Fine. I want you people to learn everything, whatever we've learned so far. From Wednesday onwards, I'll be taking deflection. Deflection will start with a deflection and little bit of analysis. Then from there, it is truly only numericals. Fine. Now what is design load? Now, before that, we will see what is this. The design load should be more than average load obtained from statistics. We have Fk is equals to, Fk is what? Characteristic load is equals to mean load plus K into standard deviation. Here, the constant K is 2.65 for load, 1.65 for material. Okay, like that. For different variables, we have different K constant value that is also mentioned in code book. Since data are not available to express load in statistical term, for the purpose of these standards, dead load is given in IS 875 part 1, imposed load is given in IS 875 part 2, wind load is given in IS 875 part 3, and slow load is given in part 4. Okay. Now, what is all this? This is nothing but when we have to take design a residential building, let us take. Do you think we can get exact value in the beginning or exact characteristic load in the beginning or exact design load in the beginning? So far, we have discussed more or less with the factor of safety, partial safety factor, all that. Correct? Now, if I have to actually calculate the load, characteristic load or design load, we have to follow these procedures. Okay, we will have to calculate the average load separately, and we have to go through the statistics. So what is the statistics? Statistics, we have to see how it varies gradually. All that we have to see. Then we will have to arrive at the characteristics load. That looks tedious. So what they do is, for residential building, for commercial buildings, and for different types of loading, they've given us the loading condition. Okay, what are the average loads to be considered in the design? Okay, with respect to different utilization of the structure. So that is mentioned accordingly in the code. Okay, you remember this in your exam. You will be getting 3 codes. One, IS 456 2000, IS 875, and SP 16 if you are lucky enough. Fine. So these 3 codes you will be referring in your exam.
Ma'am, here also should be 1.65, no ma'am?
Where ma? No ma, that is 1.65 is for material. This is for load, no. Load is, this is partial safety factor what we are discussing. See, 1.65 in working stress method also we came across, no?
Yes, ma'am.
There we applied only for material. We didn't even worry, bothered about load. Okay, but here we are applying for both, for load as well as for material. Okay, that's why it is taken as 2.65. And this 2.65 also vary with the different types. That is also there. Okay, types of loading and all that. Even that vary with the condition, and that is applied with the condition. Ma. This constant is applied with the condition. If the condition changes, even this value changes. Okay, for this is for information, and we will be using these codes. This IS 875 and 8. Frequently, we will use IS 875 and IS 875 part 2 for live load or imposed load. Part 1, I will teach you how to calculate the dead loads. Okay, because that calculation will carry marks in your numerical. Okay, not for all, whatever it is there in our reach. Okay, then comes design. Now, all this while we were learning about characteristics, characteristic material, characteristics load, correct? Now we will discuss about design. Now, the design strength of material FT is given by FT is equals to FK. What is FK? Characteristic strength of material divided by partial safety factor. Okay, for now let us take if I am calculating design material strength of a concrete, let us take. Okay, if I am calculating design strength of concrete, okay, FCK, not FCK, FCK into D is design strength of concrete, then the value will be, so I'll just give an example. I want everyone to calculate and let me know the answer. If I want to know the design strength of material concrete for M25 grade, so what do? This FCK is M25. Okay, 25 divided by the partial safety factor. Can you tell me what is the partial safety factor for concrete we considered? In yesterday's class we learned
3.
that is in working stress method.
0.67.
1.5 exactly. 1.5 is partial. 1.65 is not safety factor. 1.5 is partial safety factor. Okay, what you do, no, you just write on the one side working stress method and one side limit state method. Okay, then you write on all the confusion points, like what is a material, what are the safety factor, how it differs. Okay, what are the major factors? Here we use in working stress method we use modular ratio. In limit state method we don't use. Correct. In working stress method we use only factor of safety for material. In limit state method we apply for both material as well as load. So it is partially for material, partially for load. Okay, the value of safety factor in working stress method is 3 for concrete, whereas here it is 1.5. Okay, in limit state method, steel we take it as 1.15. 1.15. Now, if I want to take the characteristic strength of concrete, then okay, to M25, 25 on a top, okay, numerator and denominator, this value will become 1.5. Okay, 25 divided by 1.5 will give you the design load. You understand? So that is how you calculate the design load. Similarly, you also calculate design. This is design strength. You calculate design load also. Okay, here we'll get the design load by dividing the partial safety factor. We'll get the design load by multiplying the partial safety factor of the load. Okay, now what happens if you multiply this? Can you tell me? Can anyone just multiply and let me know? 25 into, we are calculating only for concrete, ma. Okay, 25 into 1.5 is how much?
37.5.
Okay, 25 divided by 1.5 is how much?
16.67.
Okay, that is one value. Okay, how you get, how to compare? I'm just comparing. Okay, here when you go for design load, that first one what we did was with respect to material. Now we are doing with respect to load. Here we will not divide, we will multiply instead. Now tell me FCK. Now let us take FK, characteristic load. Okay, characteristics load, let us take 5 kilonewton. Okay, factor of safety here will take 1.5 only. Okay, 1.5 partial safety factor. Partial safety factor, take it as 1.5. Now 5 into 1.5 is how much? 5 into 1 point. Can I want somebody to calculate and answer my question?
7.5.
7.5. Same 5 divided by 1.5 you do? Five divided by 1.5.
0.3.
0.3 now.
3.3.
3.23, ma'am.
Okay, 3.33. Now you write down both the values. Now you see the difference. What is the difference that you can see? What is the difference we are seeing here?
Design strength is more and the design load is less.
Yeah. If you divide, no, design strength will come down. But instead, we are not taking less. We need to take more, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What the theory says we will partial multiply, okay, isn't it? We will be taking partial safety factor. That means the safety factor, whatever we need, we take little extra, then we design. That is what the theory says, isn't it? So in load, what we do is we take extra load. Okay, we take extra load. Whereas in material, we can't take extra strength, because if you want to get the safety, you have to reduce the strength and check. You got me or not? Guys, please reply, otherwise you'll get confused with these parameters. See, if you want to understand material as a whole, okay, if you want to need the safety parameter of the material, you will always reduce the material strength instead of increasing the material strength. Okay, reducing it is not exactly what you're doing. You're assuming it as if you're taking less. The capacity in a simple way. To more specific, I'll take the same example of a person. If the person is carrying he has a capacity to carry 75 kgs, we will not take full 75 kg. For safety purpose, we will assume that that person will carry only 50%. That means we are reducing this capacity. Okay, we are reducing its capacity. That means there is a safety factor of 25 kgs more. Isn't it? That is how we consider the safety factor for materials. Okay. Whereas when you consider for load, if we actually want 50 kgs to be carried, okay, we will not exactly design for 50 kg. We increase the load so that in future, if 1% or 2% increases in that particular area, that slab or beam should be able to take that extra load. Guys, you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you don't understand, no, I will give you one more example. If you want to go for a party, correct? If you want to go for a party, you ask money with your parents. Do you ask exactly the bill? Nitish, unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me, if you want to spend some 1,000 rupees in a party, you will exactly ask 1,000 rupees?
What, ma'am?
If you want to spend 1,000 rupees in a party,
Yeah.
okay, you will exactly take 1,000 from your parents?
No.
You will take excess, right?
Yeah.
That is, then let us take, you will take some 1,250, isn't it?
2,000.
Oh, 2,000, very good. 2,000 is more. Okay,
Yeah.
don't take so much. Now let us
Yeah.
take 1,250 or 1,500. That's more than enough. Okay. That the 1,500, that means 500 rupees extra you have taken.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is your load.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go for a party and when you order something, okay,
Yeah.
do you order excess or do you order less?
Enough for everyone.
No, I'm not. Yes, that is there. Enough. I'm talking about money.
Extra.
Extra than 1,000 rupees, huh? I don't want you to be generous. I want you to be logically thinking. When you order, no, you will always think, so let me not increase his 1,000 rupees. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It should be in budget, no?
With either, so maximum is 1,000 or less than 1,000.
Yeah.
But the remaining whatever extra money you have taken is for just safety purpose.
Yeah, safe.
What while coming you see some desert or some something else. Okay, you would want to take that and have it, right? That is an
Yeah.
extra. That is uncertain.
Yeah.
You will not know what is that. But when you go and order for a part or lunch in a hall, you will only see that it is less than 1,000. Correct? So that is your material. Did you understand now how to take the safety factor?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. The same concept is applied here also. Okay. So to summarize, whenever you take a safety factor for a material, you underestimate the material strength. Okay. You underestimate the material strength and you design for that underestimated load strength. But if you want to take a load factor, then you increase the load. That excess load, what you take is your safety factor. Once you reduce, once you increase. Okay, so always you have to remember, if you want to multiply, so why I'm specifically telling and stressing on this, if you want to calculate in future, they will mention it in a question, they'll mention characteristic strength sometime. Okay, sometimes they'll mention is a design strength. If you want to convert that, you should always remember, if you want to convert characteristics strength of a material to design strength, you have to divide. Characteristic load to design load, you have to multiply. Okay, this is what I wanted to convey you people. Next one, same continuation. So gamma F, partial safety factor appropriate to the nature of loading and the limit state being considered. Okay, the design load obtained by multiplying the characteristic load by the partial safety factor for load is known as factored load or design load. Okay, it is factored load or design load, both are same. To come across factored load or factored moment, okay, you'll see very frequently in sport. Partial safety factor gamma M for material. When assessing the strength of the structure or structural member for the limit state of collapse, the value of partial safety factor gamma M should be taken as 1.15 for steel. Thus, in limit state method, the design strength for steel is given by Fi by gamma M. Okay, so this is how you remember this. When you take the design stress is given by characteristic stress by factor of safety. So this 0.87, that means 1 by 1.15, you will get it as 0.87. If you divide 1 by 1.15, you will get 0.87 Fy. So this 0.87 Fy is a maximum stress what we consider in the design. We don't cross this. Okay, this is a maximum stress what is developed in the steel structure at tension zone. Okay, what is this? This is a tensile stress. This is a tensile stress what is developed in the tensile zone. Okay, remember this, how you got this 0.87, this through the Fy divided by, or that in the other way it is, what is this? Characteristic load divided by factor of safety, you get the design stress or factor load. Design stress or factor stress, both are same. So this is the maximum stress which is allowed in the section at tensile zone. So you'll come across this 0.87 every now and then. If you come across 0.87, you should quickly understand that it is considering the factor safety or partial safety factor. Okay. According to IS 456-2000, for design purpose, the compressive strength of concrete in structures shall be assumed as 0.67 times the characteristic strength. Okay, of concrete in cubes, and partial safety factor gamma MC is equal to 1.5 shall be applied in addition to this. Thus, the design stress in concrete is given by, now, why we take this 0.67? Why we take this 0.67 times?
Ma'am, it's the compressive strength.
Maximum compressive strength, what we consider itself is a 67%. In the beginning itself, we have discussed. Correct? That is in terms of point, we are decimal we have given, that's all. Characteristic strength of concrete. We don't consider 80, 90, 100%. We reduce it, isn't it? So we've considered only so much. Fine? With the factor of safety. Okay, when you consider this strength, here, okay, when you go for load, see, here what we did, we consider complete strength of steel. Correct? And this Fy is nothing but 100% of steel. Okay? That divided by factor of safety is what? The maximum stress what we consider in the tension zone. Whereas, instead of 100 here, okay, 100 means 1. In the compression, what we take only 0.67% or 67% in other ways. Okay? We consider only 0.67 FCK. There for steel we used 1. For concrete we are using 0.67. 1 stands for 100%, and 0.67 stands for 67%. You understand? Now, this 67% we consider it as complete design, a complete strength. Fine? So, that divided by factor of safety, you get it as 0.446 FCK. This is a maximum stress, compressive stress developed in the member at the outermost layer. Okay, not the outermost layer, developed in the layer at one depth. Okay, that what is that depth? I'll tell you in explaining that. Okay, so you remember this 0.446 FCK. How you arrived at this 0.446 FCK? How did you arrive at 0.446 FCK? It is a strength, characteristic strength considered divided by factor of safety. Here partial safety factor. Partial safety factor here is 1.5. So we have got 0.446. Okay. Whereas in tensile stress, we developed 0.87. That is because we have considered 100% of steel strength and partial safety factor as 1.15. Okay. Now, I think we discussed this in the previous session, right? Partial safety factor for loads. Did we or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Load combinations we discussed, and we were I explained all this, right? For collapse it will be different, and services it will be different. Okay. Now, assumptions in limit state of collapse in flexural. The same thing is given in code also. We will see that also. Okay, we'll go through that also. What are the assumptions made? Plane section normal to the axis remain plane even after bending. Now tell me what is axis, neutral axis. Guys, what is axis? What is neutral axis?
Where no compression and tension occurs.
The simple way to tell, if the axis doesn't undergo any changes, then that is called as neutral axis. Correct? It will not undergo any changes, nor compression. I mean, neither tension nor compression. There is no changes at all. Fine? That is called as neutral axis. Now, a plane which is parallel to a plane normal to the normal means not parallel, perpendicular. Okay, the plane section normal to the axis remain plane even after bending. Okay, now if this is a neutral axis, okay, let us take if this pen is a neutral axis and if this is a plane, okay, this plane remains undisturbed even after bending. If the beam bends like this, okay, if the bend like this or like this, okay, or it is some deflection, it will remain same even after bending. That is what it says. Okay. It means that the strain at any point of the cross section is proportional to the distance from the neutral axis. It means that the strain at any point in the section, cross section, is proportional to the distance from the neutral axis. Okay, that in the analysis you'll understand better when we explain in analysis. The maximum strain in concrete at the outermost compressive fiber is taken as 0.0035 in bending. Okay, the maximum strain will occur at the outermost layer. Right? Outermost layer of the member, and that in a compression zone. Okay, that value is nothing but 0.0035. Fine. The relationship between stress strain distribution in concrete is assumed to be parabolic as shown in figure. Now see, this is a parabolic. This is parabolic. Okay, this portion. This is a strain and this is a stress. Okay, now look at this diagram. Okay, the relationship between the stress and distribution is explained here. Okay, now look at this. This is 100% characteristic strength. Okay, the FCK is 100%. We are considering idealized curve for concreting structure. Okay, this is nothing but 0.67 FCK. What is this 0.67 FCK? 0.67 FCK is what? Is a characteristic strength what we assume for analysis purpose. Correct? We don't assume 100%. See, this is in the material. We don't go to this level because this portion will be a safety factor for us. Okay, this is a safety factor. This is what we consider. Instead of considering this part as 100, we consider this itself is 100. That means the strength of this is reduced so much. We underestimate the strength of this part, this to this level. Okay, so 0.67 FCK. But when you design the structure, you take more partial safety factor. Okay, when you take that level will come here. Okay, now what is the safety factor considered? From this 1, 2, 3, so much of safety factor it is considered in the material. Okay, this is a safety zone in the material. Okay, so that means though the material has a strength of so much from here to 1. Okay, we will not take that completely. Instead, we will underestimate and we will take. So this material will take only so much of load up to this point. It will not take beyond this. Why? This is a safety what we have assumed. Okay, the same thing what we explained there is given in graph here. That's all. See, how did we get this 0.446? 0.446 considering the safety, partial safety factor of 1.5. Okay, now what is this 0.002? 0.002 is nothing but the 0.2% of proof stress. Okay, 0.002 is a proof stress, and this is maximum strain what is developed. 0.00035 is a maximum strain developed in the compression zone. Okay, this is better understood in analysis. I'll show you that. You understood this, no? This concept. Now, for a design purpose, the compressive strength of concrete is assumed to be parabolic, as shown in the figure above. For design purpose, the compressive strength of concrete is assumed to be 0.67 times the characteristic strength of concrete. It has been explained from the beginning. The partial safety factor, this is gamma, not R. Gamma MC is equals to 1.5 shall be applied in addition to this. Okay, what is this? To this. This 0.67 times itself is a safety factor. On that, an additional 1.5 is applied. When you apply that additional 1.5, you will get it as 0.446. Okay, 0.446 FCK. So where FCK is a characteristic strength of concrete, the tensile strength of concrete is ignored. Why it is ignored? Why it is ignored? Because it is weak in tension. Concrete is weak in tension. No. Assumptions in, okay, same thing. Now, that was with respect to concrete. This is with respect to steel. The same thing we discussed in the beginning classes, right? Now, if you consider steel, look at this. This is a characteristic curve. Okay, which says 100%. Okay, when you consider safety factor, you will get safety factor is 1.15. You will get the design curve, which is equals to 0.87 Fy. Let me wait. Give me a second. Okay, guys, now tell me what is the difference? Panduranga, you there? Panduranga, you there? Here after every, I'll ask question for every student. If you don't answer, your marks will be marked absent. Is that okay? Rohinish? Rohini Sharma. Okay, I will only explain. Now look at this. This year it is 100% Fy. Okay, this 100% Fy, and we apply directly factor of safety of 0.15. Sorry, 1.15. So this is a design curve. To get the same design curve here, we have taken, you have reduced twice. That's only the difference. Here we don't have one more curve here. It is only 2 curve. Here we have 3 curve. Okay, they have reduced the strength twice, taking safety factor. Here it is only once. Fine. So like this. If you take different material, different stress strain curve you will come across. This is for concrete and this is for steel. Okay. If you take some other like aluminium or cast iron or something else, depending upon the material property, the stress strain curve will also vary. Accordingly, we take the factor of safety for that. Okay. Okay, the maximum strain in the tensile reinforcement in the section at failure shall not be less than what? Fy 1.15 EC plus 0.002. This is one equation you have to remember, and it is there in code also. Okay, so it should not be less than this. This is Fy divided by 1.15. Fy divided by 1.15. ES is in modulus of elasticity plus 1.22002. In design, nowhere you will find an often number. Okay, any number which is given will be connected with something else. no orphan number will be given. Fine. If you have written 0.002, this has some meaning. If you have written 0.115, it has some meaning. Fine. Now, any doubt in this part? Okay, I'll just summarize this. So what you did, we learned about characteristics, material, how it is different from each other. Material, characteristic strength of steel, characteristic strength of concrete, and we also learned about the design strength of material. Fine, and design characteristic strength of load and design strength of load. Okay, when we take characteristic strength or design strength of material, we divide the characteristic strength by the factor of safety. Whereas when we take the design load, we multiply the characteristics load by partial safety factor. Okay, this is what you have to remember. Now, we'll just go through the code book. Okay, code book, I want to show you IS. This first I'll show you 875 part 2. Okay, 875 part 2 will tell us about live load. How do I share? Oh, sharing is here. Can you see the code? Guys, can you see the code?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, okay. IS 875 part 2. It says code of practice for design load other than earthquake load. Okay, for building. Okay, in sand structure. So, okay, look at this now. Now, if you look at this, terminologies and imposed load on floors due to use of occupancies. Okay, what is the page number? 5. Terminologies, you go through it. Okay, now it just says imposed is nothing, imposed load is nothing but live load. Okay. See, now if you take for occupancy, imposed load will differ on different occupancies. Okay, so now the load assumed to be produced by the intended use or occupancies of the building, including the weight of the movable portion, distributed concentrated loads, concentrated loads, load due to impact and vibration. What is that impact? Impact is nothing but sudden. Okay, now distribution and distributed, it may be distributed equally, it may be distributed varyingly, uniformly varying load. It is there, no? Uniformly distributed load. So that type of loads. Concentrated, which is applied at one point. Load due to impact, sudden. If you have let us take what is it, dumbbells in your hand, which is used for gym and all, and if it is a 5 kgs, sudden 5 kgs, you put it on the floor. Okay, the impact, what is obtained, what is happened on the floor is nothing but impact load. Okay, what's applied on the floor is nothing but impact load. And vibration, if you keep a vibrating machine on the floor, there will be a force applied on the slab continuously. Okay, that continuous vibration load it's one of the example. And dust load, but excluding wind, seismic load, and snow load. Dust load is what? If there is continuous dust coming on the structure. Okay, if there is continuous dust coming on the structure. For example, now if you take Okay, let us think like this. Take a simple example. If you don't clean your floor, or if you don't clean your wooden work for a longer time, there will be a layer of the wood deposited on that, right? That is, though it is minimum, it is a load, dust load. Okay, see, there is no dust inside the building also, there will be so much of dust. Just imagine, like, I don't know whether if people know or not, if they have to clean the ragi, they will take in a road and they'll take out all the dust from a ragi. You know that process? Seasoning the ragi. Okay, ragi or wheat or rice. Okay, that dust when it is deposited, that will have some weight. It is like a rice husk weight. When you clean the rice, no, that husk will go deposit on the walls and all. Okay, so or a window, that it's a load. Okay, like that dust load. But excluding wind, wind load is taken separately. Okay, the wind pressure is taken separately. There will be some nominal wind, and the wind carry the dust and deposit somewhere. That is dust load. Fine. The seismic load, you know, that is definitely taken separately. Snow load also, it is taken separately. And other load due to temperature changes like creep, shrinkage, differential settlement, etc. Now, occupancy or use group. The principal occupancies for which a building or parts of the building is used for intended to be used. In the simple way to tell, if a building is designed for hospital, okay, the load taken will be different. If a building is designed for a public building, what is a public building? Let us take some registration office, or let us take some other government offices. That is different separately. School building is different separately. Okay, commercial building is, the load coming on the commercial building is designed separately. Industrial structure is designed, load is considered separately. See, so like that, if you take, you have office building, business building, okay, educational building. Educational building, maybe it is school or college. Industrial building, okay, industrial building, it goes with a different varieties, kind of, okay, like plants different, power plants different, refineries different, gas plant different, mile it is different, okay, dairy, factory, workshop, etc. Now this industry will go with in a different ways with all this. In the other way, if you take an example of a what is that actually, textile industry. Okay, textile industry is different, and hardware industries in the computer field, it is different, isn't it? Factories, school building is a different, correct? There also people will be and desk will be. You can't take that for a offices. You can't take it as a office building, correct? Office building throughout it will be there. Throughout the round the clock there will be work, but it is not same for school. 2 months there will be no school only. Okay, why they do take different like this? Because I'll tell you, I think I've told you this before also. We always prepare for the worst. Okay, if you prepare for the worst, best is always acceptable. Correct? Now I'll give you one more example. When you design a retaining wall, tell me which is critical, whether when the water is filled in the retaining wall or when it is empty. When it is critical. When it is empty, it is critical. You know why? When the retaining wall is constructed, one side definitely there will be a support of the soil. The other side it will be empty, correct? Either water or empty, either ways. When both the side there is a pressure, the retaining wall will be given support and it will stand still. If it is like giving support from two sides and giving support from one side, pushing from one side. So if you push from one side, definitely it will fall. So empty retaining wall is critical. So that should be designed accordingly only. That is why when you design a retaining wall for water, it will be few factors will be different. And when you design a retaining wall for cellar, it will never be supported with both the side. It will only be supported on one side, right? The other side we use it for parking and all. Correct? Cellar retaining wall, what we consider, that is different. The procedure may be same, the design procedure may be same. There are few factors which will be separately considered. Okay, like that we consider different load. Now, look at this. Imposed floor load for different occupancies. Imposed floor load means live load on floors, only floor. Okay. Residential building. In a residential building, if you take dwelling houses like all rooms and kitchen, okay, all rooms and kitchen, we consider 2 kilonewton per meter square. For every 1 meter square, we consider 2 kilonewton. Okay. If it is considered as a point load, then it is considered as 1.8 kilonewton. Okay. Toilet and bathroom also it is same. But corridor, passages, staircase will be different. That is 3 kilonewton. Tell me why it is 3, why it is more? Why it is more? In bathroom, 2 people will not go together. Only 1 person will go. Correct? Kitchen also maximum 2 people, not more than that. But in corridor, it is not same. 3 people, 4 people. If there is a procession, so many people will stand in one side. There is an example of corridor falling down. It collapsed. Okay, so they've increased. So when you design a floor, that floor will be designed according to the position where it is provided. So accordingly, the load will change. Excuse me. Okay, same way in a residential building only we have different. Okay, therefore habitat room and kitchen, toilets, bathroom, it is different. Okay, then balcony it is 3. And now if you take roof on terrace, okay, terrace the load will be different. It is different because terrace will be more or less, it will be empty. Okay, now the same thing when it goes for hotels, for living room it is 3, kitchen it is 3, and see storeroom it is 5. Why it is 5? Because in hotel it is a commercial and they'll serve for people. Okay, there will be a heavy storage kept. Okay, dining and cafeteria it is 4. Again, this is also more only. The remaining toilet bathroom is similar to that of the other one, because everywhere toilet and bathroom only 1 or 2 people will go maximum. Okay. Now corridors again same. Balcony it is same. See now, imposed floor load for different occupancies. Garage. Okay, garage floor it is 2.5. Fine. This garage floor it is considered. I feel sleepy if you people don't reply to my words or if you don't interact. Garage floor for passenger car and vehicle not exceeding 2.5 tons gross weight. Okay, if the car, or you can't take a truck and park it over there. If you want to park a truck, then this load will not be sufficient. It is only for a car which is of 2.5 tons maximum. Like that, for different vehicles, different flooring, different loading is given. Okay, when they take this, they also take factor of safety separately. Educational building also class. Look at this now. In an educational building, for classrooms and lecturer room, they have taken 3. For dining, they have taken 3. The remaining rest they've changed. Okay, so when you apply if they ask you to design, If they ask you to design a floor, okay, slab, and as per IS 875 loading condition, this is how you have to refer. What type of slab, what purpose it is used, okay? That purpose you have to take from the values from here and give it there. Okay, imposed floor load for different occupancies again. What is this? Similarly, if you look around, you have different occupancies given. Now look at this industrial structure. Industrial structure with machinery equipment, works area without machinery equipment. Work area with machinery equipment, with and without. See, if it is a heavy duty, it is 10. If it's medium duty, it is 7. Light duty, it is 5, like that. For a boiler's room, it is 5. Cafeteria, 3. Corridors, 4. 5. Kitchen, 3. Toilets and bathroom, 2. This is an industrial area. Storage building. What are storage buildings? What are storage buildings? Storage buildings are nothing but the mills. You manufacture something and keep on storing in one side. Okay, for that also they have given separately. Okay, dust load in area prone to settlement of dust on roof. Okay, provision for dust load equivalent to probable thickness of accumulated of dust may be made. Can you tell me where this dust load is usually considered? It is considered in more or less steel structure, because concrete structure, the weight of dust on concrete is very minimum. But if it is a steel structure, it is considered, because the self weight of the steel is very less. It will be more or less equal to that of dust only. Okay. So they consider it. Any doubt in this?
No, ma'am.
So this is what we usually refer. Okay. Dead load calculations, I will let you know, guys. Okay. Now, IS 456. It is not opened. What we were about. See, they've given standard deviation information over here for a design mix. More or less, it is considered for capacity also, capacity of concrete strength. Okay, I want you people to go through this and let me know what and all you understood from the code. Standard deviation for concrete design, it is different. There, it is different. Okay, look at this. Can you see the screen? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, load and forces. How to calculate dead load? Okay. Now, dead load shall be calculated on the basis of unit weight, which shall be established taking into consideration the material specified for construction. Okay. Alternatively, the dead load may be calculated on the basis of unit weight of material given in IS 875. Okay. Unless more accurate calculations are guaranteed, the unit weight of the plain concrete and reinforced concrete and sand with sand and gravel and crushed stone may be considered as 24 kilonewton per meter cube and 25 kilonewton per meter cube respectively. Now what they do is, when they have to calculate the dead load, if let us take an assumption of slab. Okay. Now the application of load is different. Now if you take slab, on slab load will be applied as per meter square. It is area or floor load. Okay. Whereas on beam it will be per meter. Okay. It will be per meter. Whereas on a column it is unit concentrated load. Guys, you know all this, or should I explain more in depth all this? Have you learned in a song? Guys.
Ma'am, please explain in depth.
Okay, then I'll do one thing. Because if you don't know that, you will not understand how to calculate. Okay, I will explain in depth in a next session. Fine. Now let me not confuse you people. Okay, I'll explain how to calculate. And what about this one? Moments. What you do now, you have to recall how to calculate moments. If it is simply supported, how you want me to recall the supports, moments, all that, or what? Or you can study on your own.
Ma'am, that we can do on our own.
You can study, ma'am.
Okay, then I'll work on load calculations. Okay. In next session, I'll work on load calculations then. If I don't show the slide, no, you will not understand. If I orally tell it, there's no point in orally telling that. Okay then. So what we can do is, today's session I'll stop at this point. Okay. So Monday I will get back to you people regarding our session. Okay. So Monday onwards, if possible, we'll take continuously and we'll finish it off the portions which is to be covered for internals. Okay. Then you see. But if you don't know the basic which you learned, I'll keep on asking you whether you know this or not. If you tell me, if you want any explanation on that, I'll explain. Otherwise, I'll assume you know and I'll just move on. If I move on, trust me, in further modules, you will not understand anything. Okay? This first module, I'll go very slowly because it is little bit theory. And after that, you don't see theory. Only in the first module, you come across theory. Okay. Okay then. In a minute, I'll share the questions.